Eshop Sunday is upon us. It's that time of week again, folks, the place where we promise restraint and immediately act with reckless abandon. Now, I don't know about everyone else, but this has been an expensive week for gaming, and it isn't showing signs of easing up anytime soon. My backlog is suffering. But here we are looking for more to add. This isn't a list of massive heavy hitters, but there are some fantastic indie gems here today, and hopefully I can convert a few of you. So with that said, let's jump straight in. We're kicking things off with a massively underrated game that honestly feels like a steal. Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope is a tactical strategy sequel. Ubisoft and Nintendo teamed up to create a massive spacefaring adventure where Mario and the Rabbids have to save the galaxy from a mysterious entity called Cursor. I'm not entirely sure why this game flopped so hard, but it sold less than 30% of its predecessor. Look, it still sold 3 million copies, so it isn't all doom and gloom, but it just didn't resonate with people. They moved away from the grid-based combat of the first game, which allowed for much more freedom of movement and creative tactical plays. And I personally thought that the mixing and matching of different sparks just gave each character more tactical depth. The writing was great and humorous, it looks better, but it just didn't click with its fanbase. Regardless, playing it back now, it's a great game, and it's currently $5.99 US or $7.99 in Canada until March the 16th in North America only. And for the 25-hour campaign you will get, that's a bargain. Now this one had its fair share of issues on launch, and justifiably got a lot of stick, but 13 is an absolute classic and brings back great OG Xbox memories. It's a stylized, cel-shaded first-person shooter that looks like it stepped right out of a graphic novel, because it did. For those who don't know, this is a remake of the 2003 cult classic. It uses this gorgeous cel-shaded art style that really leans into the comic book aesthetic, complete with all of the onomatopoeias you will grow to love. You play as a man who wakes up on a beach with amnesia and a mysterious Roman numeral tattoo, quickly finding yourself at the centre of a massive political conspiracy. It's got a decent story, and it's just good old-fashioned FPS fun. But yeah, it did run like absolute dog water on release, but after some much-needed patches, it actually runs quite well now, and is in a state I'm happy to recommend it, especially when it's only £6.99 or the price shown on screen. An 80% discount until March the 18th in the UK and Europe, and the 28th in North America. You'll get about 6 hours out of this, and it's definitely replayable. But if conspiracy theories aren't quite for you, then maybe Ship of Fools is. This is a must-buy roguelite action game, which is significantly better played in co-op, but it's still a great game solo. You'll man a ship called Stormstrider and sail into the archipelago to stop the everlasting storm, and the gameplay loop is just mad. You have to manage cannons, repel boarders, and repair the hull, all while navigating through randomized maps. It's your typical roguelike. The core idea is that whilst managing this tiny vessel, you will fend off waves of enemies attacking from all sides, and it's all about balancing, attacking, defending, and stopping the entire thing from sinking. And the main enjoyment comes from just being constantly pushed into these messy, slightly panicked moments where everything is just falling apart and you're desperately trying to keep the ship alive by any means possible. Throw into the ring a good variety of relics, upgrades and weapons that appear across multiple runs, and the roguelike structure just keeps you going. Ship of Fools Aquapocalypse Edition is currently £11.99 in the UK and Europe until April the 3rd, but only the base game is on sale in North America, which is $8.79 US or $11.99 Canadian until March the 23rd. The complete edition doesn't add any more story mode, it just adds extra playable characters and a few more relics and abilities. And whilst on the topic of roguelites, Undermine is another one, albeit more dungeon crawling centric with a really satisfying progression system. At its heart, this is a classic action roguelike where you descend deeper and deeper into a dangerous mine filled with enemies, traps, hidden secrets and piles of gold. Each run sends you into procedurally generated levels, where you're doing the usuals you would expect, smashing pots, fighting monsters, and collecting relics, all while slowly shaping your abilities. It's just got everything you'd expect from one of these games, and it does it well. I did find it a little bit on the challenging side. Some of the bosses you come across are just brutal. But that's the aim of the game. Mine gold, die, upgrade yourself, and try again. And while the main campaign will take you about 20 hours to complete, being a roguelike, you know you're going to get at least triple that if you enjoy the game. It's currently £5.42, or your currency's equivalent, a 65% discount until March the 19th in the UK and Europe, and the 20th in North America. And in a similar vein in graphical style, we've got Core Keeper. Main difference here is that this is more of a sandbox adventure. You wake up as an explorer in a giant underground world where you start with nothing and have to mine, build, farm, and fight your way to the truth of the core. But this experience is much more complete. It blends survival mechanics, crafting, exploration, and massive boss fights into one incredibly addictive game. And with the recent Switch 2 update and up to 8-player co-op, now's the best time to pick it up. It's one of those rare games that offers something for everyone, and it nails every aspect of it, especially with the co-op, where you can leave some to go and do the fighting, whilst others stay back to do the fishing, cooking, and base building. As I said, it just has a bit of everything. It's cozy, addictive, fun, and frustrating all in one, but it does have one of the best gameplay loops I've experienced on the Switch. Core Keeper is currently £9.59 or the price shown on the graphic, a 40% reduction until March the 12th in the UK and Europe, and the 13th in North America. And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we've got Centum, a point-and-click psychological adventure game built completely around unreliable narration and shifting perspectives. The story places you inside a prison cell, but from the very beginning, it becomes clear that things are not quite what they seem, and it really is quite trippy. It's often breaking the fourth wall and messing with your expectations, and constantly changes its own rules as you play. It's just always doing its best to unsettle you. Characters will contradict themselves, the environments will constantly change, and the story starts questioning whether what you're seeing is real or imagined. It's a mix of point-and-click exploration with puzzles and dialogue choices, but the real focus is on that psychological storytelling. But in essence, the entire game is just about navigating that narrative that's constantly shifting. It's brilliant and weird, but it will definitely leave you scratching your head, and if it does, the game succeeded. Centum is currently £10.49 or your regional equivalent, a 30% discount until March the 11th in the UK and Europe, and the 12th in North America. And speaking of head scratchers, this next one is incredible. Blueprints is a first-person puzzle strategy game where you're exploring a mysterious mansion where every time you open a door, you choose the next room from a draft of floor plans, trying to navigate your way to the blue room. It requires a lot of forward-thinking and spatial awareness, as you're constantly managing your tools and energy to make it through the day, with the aim of the game to uncover the larger mystery behind the house, via notes, clues, and environmental storytelling that slowly reveal the pieces of a much bigger narrative. The art style is fantastic, it's like a modern cel-shaded look. The performance isn't brilliant, the FPS is capped at 30, and it struggles at times, but it's likely we will get some fixes, and it's just a brilliant game. I really do recommend it. I imagine it's massively CPU heavy because of how it handles the randomized architecture and room loading in the background, which is likely why it's Switch 2 exclusive. But yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. If it sounds interesting, go and pick it up. It's currently £16.49 or your regional price, a 34% discount until March the 11th in the UK and Europe, and the 12th in North America. And this next one is quite the switch. Warhammer 40,000 Mechanicus is a turn-based tactical game that puts you in control of the most technologically advanced army in the Imperium, the Adeptus Mechanicus. I'm sure you've all played one of the tactical 40k games before and know exactly what to expect, but this is one of the better entries on the Switch, and it definitely has some of the most tactical combat. It massively focuses on customization. You can augment your gear with all sorts of mechanical limbs and weapons, tailoring your squad to your own playstyle. It does have minor performance issues, but overall, it's a pretty smooth playthrough. But on top of its brilliant tactical gameplay, it's a Warhammer game, which means the lore and backstory and narrative are going to be top tier. Now this is a North American exclusive sale, and it's currently $9.99 US or $12.49 Canadian, a 75% discount until March 26th. Lost in Random is probably the biggest bargain in this entire sale. This action-adventure game set in a dark fantasy world where the fate of every citizen is determined by the roll of a magical dice. And straight off the bat, the world building here is phenomenal. It's got a wonderfully strange setting filled with twisted storybook characters, bizarre towns, all in a very Tim Burton style atmosphere. You play as Even, a young girl trying to rescue her sister after she's been taken by a sinister queen. Accompanying you is Dicey, a living dice who plays a major role in both the story and gameplay. The combat mixes real-time action with card-based abilities that are activated when you roll Dicey. That means that every encounter has an element of unpredictability in RNG, and love it or hate it, you will be constantly adapting your strategy after every roll. The writing is clever, the world design is imaginative, and the whole game carries this slightly eerie fairy tale tone throughout its 12-hour story. It's currently just £2.99 or the price shown on screen, a 90% discount until March the 10th. Again, this one's in North America only. My apologies. And if you're after some old school Nintendo vibes, you need to check out Bakeru, a 3D action platformer from the people behind Yoshi's Woolly World. You play as Bakeru, a cheerful Tanuki warrior travelling across a stylized version of Japan to stop a corrupt festival empire that has taken control of the country. It's a light beat 'em up with stage-based progression, and it leans heavily on Japanese folklore and festival culture. It looks fantastic, very bright, very colourful, and while the combat isn't quite top tier, the enemies are quirky and the bosses are very expressive. But the highlight of the combat is when you temporarily transform into legendary Japanese heroes, each with their cool, unique abilities. And it very much feels like a spiritual successor to the Mystical Ninja series. And it definitely has a very Nintendo feel about it, with the bright, vibrant colours and that protagonist charm. The frame rate isn't brilliant on the Switch, but it's definitely playable for what it is. Very reminiscent of the N64 era. It really is a bit of a love letter to your classic platformers. It's a tad pricier at $24.49 or a regional price, but with it being a solid game and offering a 15-hour campaign, it's a worthy mention. It's currently 30% off until March the 17th in the UK and Europe and the 18th in North America. This next one is definitely a bit more of a depressing one, but it's fantastic nonetheless, and it will force a little emotion even out of the most stone-hearted of you. Torn Away is an interactive story-adventure game set during World War II, seen through the eyes of a young girl named Asya. It's a pretty brutal and harrowing journey across Europe as she tries to return home after being taken to a labour camp. The gameplay is generally a mix of stealth, puzzles, and cinematic moments, all rendered in a beautiful hand-drawn art style, and at times, it's quite a tough play. It's beautiful, but it's quite a tough and emotional topic. It spends a lot of its time focusing on the human cost of conflict and the resilience of a child's spirit. It's a 4-hour story, but I can promise you, you'll be thinking about it far after it's finished. It really is quite moving. Torn Away is currently £6.07, or the price shown on the graphic, a 55% discount until March the 21st in the UK and Europe, and the 22nd in North America. With the recent Resident Evil hype, I had to include this one. Crow Country is a pure survival horror straight out of that 32-bit era, fully channeling those PS1 visuals. And for fans of the genre, it's amazing. It's got a great blend of retro playstyle with modern sensibilities. You're exploring an abandoned theme park in 1990, searching for the park's missing owner. And the key takeaway here is that the atmosphere is brilliant. It uses those classic fixed camera angles, but they've managed to make it feel smooth and responsive. The puzzles are exactly what you would expect from a Resident Evil game. They're clever at times, but never too brutal. And the creature designs are pretty messed up, in that creepy, low poly way. It's definitely a love letter to the roots of the genre, really honing in on that survival horror, the constant tension and dread of being followed and not knowing what comes next. It doesn't necessarily do anything new, but it doesn't need to. Crow Country is currently £10.05, or your regional equivalents, a 40% discount until March the 13th in the UK and Europe, and the 14th in North America. And sticking to the theme of tension, we've got what I regard as a masterpiece in Dredge. Part fishing adventure, part Lovecraftian horror novel. On the surface, you're a fisherman trying to make a living in a small archipelago. You catch fish, sell them to upgrade your boat, and talk to the locals. But once the sun goes down, things get a bit weird. The fog rolls in, your sanity starts to slip, and you'll begin to see things under the water that definitely shouldn't be there. I know it's a strong word, but it really is a masterclass in atmosphere and tension. That gameplay loop of venturing out further each day and rushing back to port before total darkness is incredibly compelling. It runs great, it's dark, beautiful, and deeply satisfying to play, and at this price, it's an absolute bargain. It's currently £8.79, or your country's equivalent, a 60% off until March the 18th in the UK and Europe. The base game isn't on sale in North America, but you can pick up the complete edition with all of the DLC for $19.99 US or $24.99 in Canada. Now that is double the price, but it also pretty much doubles the play length. And with a game this good, that's never a bad thing. And that complete edition is on sale until March the 23rd. And finally, for my surprise of the week, I picked up Still There, and it was fantastic. You might sense a bit of a theme here, but Still There is a psychological adventure game set on a lonely space station. You play as the sole operator of a distant space outpost performing routine maintenance tasks whilst communicating with a small cast of characters through the radio. At first the game seems quite grounded. You're solving technical puzzles, repairing machinery, and keeping the station functioning. But slowly, the story begins exploring much heavier themes about isolation, regret, and the idea of being stuck between past mistakes and uncertain futures. I found the puzzles themselves to be cleverly designed, built around operating the station's equipment, often requiring you to reference manuals, diagrams, and technical instructions to solve the problems. But what really carries this game is the atmosphere. The quiet emptiness of space combined with the emotional narrative makes it a surprisingly powerful story. Now obviously, the lack of action really means this won't be for everyone, but as the days go on, the isolation starts to take its toll, and it really does start taking some very unexpected and emotional directions, mostly about grief from the past. But one shining light is also its dark humour. It's not for everyone, it's a slow, thoughtful game, digging into a deeply human story set in the cold vacuum of space. But if you are even remotely interested, I cannot recommend this enough. Still There is currently £3.37, or the price shown on the screen, a 75% discount until March the 18th in the UK and Europe, and the 28th in North America. And that just about wraps it up. A few pretty niche picks this week, so hopefully a few of you came out unscathed, but for those who didn't, I would apologise, but I wouldn't mean it. But yeah, these past few weeks have been quite expensive. We had Fallout, the Resident Evil trilogy, Blueprints, and Pacopia, and now we have Monster Hunter coming this week. It's good gaming wise, but the wallet is crying. Anyways, let me know in the comments if you've picked anything up, and what you're looking forward to release wise in the near future. Also, what were your thoughts on Pacopia? I loved it, and I just hope it means that maybe we get a Dragon Quest Builders free at some point. Do all the usual stuff, like, subscribe, hype, cry over the backlog, you know the drill. And with that said, thanks for spending some time with me, stay cozy, and yeah, I'll see you around.